Hey, good morning, friends. How are you guys doing? So today in this class, we will discuss on the next topic. It's about the bias and the variance. In the last class, we discussed on overfitting, what is underfitting, and what is the optimum model. Today in this class, we will discuss on bias and variance. This is again an important interview question, and you can definitely expect a question wherein people ask you in terms of your understanding for the bias and for the variance. Okay, let's start with the definition of bias and the variance. Bias, it means that it's something which is bad for the model. Bias and variance both are bad for the model. They are all related to errors in the model. Okay, both bias and the variance needs to be controlled, right? These two things are not good for the model building. Okay, so let's understand the meaning of the word bias. Bias, it talks about the gap that exists between your predicted and your actual value. Okay, the gap or the error that exists between your predicted value and your actual value is referred to as your bias. Okay, like say for example, if your actual value is 18 and what you're predicting is say 5. Okay, so let's say that this is your actual. I'm just giving an example. Okay, like let's say the actual value is 18 and what you're predicting is 5. Okay, so there is a gap, right? Which means that these are totally different, right? So this is basically a wrong prediction which is being done by the model, right? So this is what you call it as a bias. Or you can also say that, let's say that you have something which is a boy, right? And what you're predicting is that it is going to be a girl. Okay, so again, over here you find a total different classification which has been done, right? So your actual is boy, but what you're predicting is a girl, right? So that's totally opposite, right? So that's totally wrong, correct? So this is what you call it as a bias. Bias, it basically refers to the gap that exists between your predicted and your actual. It is also referred to as an error which exists between your predicted and the actual value. Okay, so this is the definition for the bias. Okay, and we should not have bias and variance. We should try and reduce them. It is not possible for us to completely eliminate them, but we have to find a sweet spot. Okay, that's the whole intention of model building. Okay, so that's what I have mentioned over here. Bias, it represents the distance or the gap that exists between your predicted and the actual value, right? It is basically the error. Okay, that's what I told you, right? It's basically the error that exists between your predicted and your target. Okay, now let's look at what is the main idea or the concept behind the model building. The main idea of model building is not to have something which is 100% accurate. Okay, is it possible for anyone to build a model which is 100% accurate in doing classification or prediction or whatever statistical analysis? It is not possible, correct? Okay, like you will not be able to do or create a model which is 100% accurate. Okay, the main idea of model building is to have a generalized model, okay, which is not too complex, which is not too simple, which is not having too much of accuracy. I'm okay to have errors in it, okay, but it should be in a position to address my new data set with fair bit of accuracy. Okay, and the accuracy should be reasonably high. Okay, so it should be generalized model. Okay, that's point number one. And the point number two is that when I get a new data set, right, it should be able to take it and it should be able to understand the relationship, and then it should give me a fairly good accuracy and prediction. Okay, that's the generalized idea behind model building. And we know that so that's what I have mentioned over here. What is the main idea behind the model building? Okay, that's what I have explained to you. Now, where do you get the predicted value and where do you get the actual value? The predicted value is supposed is something which is coming from the model, and the actual value is provided by the data set. Okay, so this is something which we know. I'm just clarifying few things. Okay, these things are very basic. Okay, I'm just giving you these two statements which are very basic. Okay, where do you get the target? The target is something, or the predicted is something which is coming from the model, and the actual value is something which is given by the actual raw data set, right? Or the process data set which we use for analysis. Okay,